The water is abundant, but one East Bay city just made sure it's in a much better position to handle the next drought.
It was dry once, it'll be dry again.
We'll go behind the scenes at a new plant that could provide more than a third of Antioch's water, and why it could be tough for other cities to follow suit. Plus, an overnight jolt in Berkeley that shook people around the bay.
And I felt like the bunk bed was allowed to collapse.
What it means that it originated on a Bay Area fault considered overdue for a major quake, and how San Francisco police are using new tools to track down dirt bike riders who swarm the streets. And later, a living legend turns 104. We'll take you to the tribute for retired park ranger Betty Reed Saskin and hear why she is such an inspiration.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. It's a question you probably got asked a lot today. Did you feel it? An early morning earthquake gave people in the East Bay quite a jolt. So it was a magnitude 4.3. The quake shook just before 3 this morning. It was centered in Berkeley, but we heard reports of people feeling it all the way from wine country down to the South Bay. Most people were sleeping. Hello, right here. But some security cameras got some pretty good video. So take a look at a car that got rattled in a garage in El Sobrante. And then in Oakland, this camera caught the moment the shaking actually started. The debris kind of shook loose from a roof. We also spoke with some UC Berkeley students who were near the epicenter of the quake about what they felt in the very moment.
Yeah, it's like a jolt, back and forth.
Because I'm in a bottom bunk in my dorm, I felt everything moving, and I felt like the bunk bed was allowed to collapse.
My first thought was, wait, see how long it lasts. And then I thought, well, what if it keeps going?
All right, well, thankfully, no major damage, but we saw products knocked off the shelves in a Sephora on 4th Street in Berkeley, and nearby Keels also had some mess to clean up. And then there's a Berkeley business owner who got word of an emergency at his butcher shop and then immediately came to check it out.
One of the neighbors called my coworker Raul, and she thought someone had broke into the store. We got here at the same time, and right away I knew it was the earthquake. It wasn't someone broke it into.
So the quake caused the front window to shatter and shards of glass to fall in the store. The quake struck along the Hayward Fault. Now, Brian Hackney spoke with seismology experts about today's quake and the chances of an even bigger one striking.
For one young Berkeley student, it was a first.
And I was awake playing with my phone this morning. Suddenly, the earthquake came, and I was completely frightened.
But it didn't rattle one expert at the U.S. Geological Survey at Moffett Field. Did you feel it?
I did not feel it. I live in San Mateo, and I was pretty asleep.
Dr. Anne-Marie Bolte is a geophysicist with USGS. And as for this morning's quake,
I think right now our understanding is that this is really a garden variety typical Hayward Fault earthquake.
And this side of the fault is a little bit higher than this side of the fault.
the Hayward Fault stretches for 35 miles from Fremont in the south, right through Point Pinole to the north. And on top, thousands of homes and businesses.
I would guarantee you that that person has no idea that they just crossed the Hayward Fault.
David Schwartz has been watching it for decades.
Is this it?
In the Hayward Fault has about 450 structures built completely across it.
Based on my instinct, just ran out of my room.
No wonder so many people felt it. The 4.3 was the biggest quake on this part of the fault in 7 years. Still,
it's really just telling us, hey, Hayward Fault's here, it's alive. Everything kind of is conforming to our models.
That model shows that big earthquakes happen on the fault with sobering regularity.
Where are we in the cycle of significant magnitude 6.7 quakes on the Hayward Fault?
It's a great question. The last major earthquake on the Hayward Fault was in 1868, and we think they recur about every 140 years. So by that math, we are overdue for a large earthquake. In fact, we think there's about 2/3 chance, so more likely than not, of that occurring in the next 20 years.
That next 20 years could have been this morning. Most know about the massive 1906 San Francisco quake. Few were aware that that quake was preceded by a much smaller foreshock. So this innocent 4.3?
I thought, could this be a foreshock to the overdue Hayward Fault quake? Could it have been?
It could have been, yes.
The chance of this being a foreshock to a bigger quake diminishes with every passing hour, but...
You think we're really ready for a magnitude 6.7 on the Hayward Fault?
That's a great question. I think we can always be more prepared. And we know we're still working to ensure everything is retrofit and we have communications. So I think we are ready, and we can always be more ready and more prepared.
All right, it's important to be prepared, but before you get too worried, the USGS says there is about a 2% chance of another magnitude 4 and above quake happening in the area within the next week. So for magnitude 5 and above, less than 1%. So we did bring you special coverage of this earthquake early this morning. If you want breaking news updates as they happen, you can follow us on air on our website, cbsnews.com, or download the free CBS News app. It is the first day of fall, and with the rainy season yet to come, water managers are wondering if this will be a wet or dry year. And there's really no way to predict it. But the city of Antioch is resting easy. They've just employed a new technology that promises a secure water future, and it's all thanks to the city's past. John Ramus explains.
When it comes to drought, we tend to have a short memory. Once it starts raining, it's out of sight, out of mind. But the city of Antioch had a unique opportunity, and they've constructed one of the most innovative water plants in the Bay Area. When Marcus Woodland enters the newest addition to the city's water treatment plant, he's looking at what other cities may have in their future. One of the first operating desalination plants in the Bay Area. The water comes from the Delta, a mix of fresh and salt water called brackish. Upon arrival, the water is sent through the normal treatment process.
It is clean and filtered water. It just has a lot of salt in it. So we pump that from a plant all the way up to here. This is the first stage booster pump. This pumps it into the top, which is the first stage membranes.
Reverse osmosis pumps the salty water under high pressure through membranes with tiny holes that only water molecules can pass through. Half of it will be discharged as clean drinking water.
The other half will go down to this booster pump, which goes to this bottom, and that has 17 vessels. That'll recover about half of the water that goes in there. Half of what goes in there will become drinking water, and then the other half will be disposed at Delta Diablo, which is the wastewater treatment plant.
From there, the salty brine is released back into the Delta. The plant cost about $100 million to build, but the power costs for the huge pumps, coupled with the cost of raw water, makes the process cost prohibitive for most cities. That's where Antioch's history tips the scales. The city, nicknamed Rivertown, was established in 1849 as a river stop for the gold rush. Because of that, Antioch enjoys primary water rights from the Delta, meaning they don't have to pay for the water they take from it.
This is the water treatment plant intake.
Stan Davis began working as a city engineer in 1969. He retired nearly 30 years ago, but even then he says the city was already considering desalination as a water source.
Well, it's the only city in the area that can do that. We had the only water rights in the area to begin with, and now we've got the ability to use the water all year and not just part of the year. I think it's great. It's good to have that backup there for the additional quantity of water when the water out there is not that good.
Since it opened last week, the plant has been running 24/7, pumping out about 6 million gallons of fresh water per day. It has the potential to supply 40% of the city's water needs, and Woodland thinks with construction costs going up, it only makes sense for other cities to begin planning for desalination now.
So this would have been more beneficial a couple years ago, but everything's cyclical, so it was dry once, it'll be dry again. What point does it make financial sense for them to invest the money? Are they going to wait till they run out of water before they start seeking alternatives? Or are they going to see on the horizon that, alternative water supplies are going to be needed, so let's start the infrastructure now?
Just like the famous quote, the Bay Area is surrounded by water, water everywhere, nor any a drop to drink. But not in Antioch. They understand that waiting for a drought to happen is the wrong time to be investing in the future.
So the desalination plant is used in the summer and fall when water flows from the rivers are low, allowing salt water to push up into the delta. So the rain begins falling, the water becomes fresh again, and the plant can be taken offline. All right, now to San Francisco, where a man is facing manslaughter charges for multiple hit-and-run crashes that left one person dead, several others injured. It happened back in January. SFPD says the driver of a Tesla, 67-year-old Jialin Zhang from Honolulu, hit at least 6 cars and killed one person and a dog. The crash happened near 6th and Harrison Streets in the Soma neighborhood. But before that crash, the CHP says the driver hit 4 cars on Interstate 280. DA Brooke Jenkins talked about why it took almost 9 months to file charges.
We have to do vehicle inspections. We have to do physical examinations of the drivers to ensure that there was no health episode that caused it, that there was no vehicle malfunction, and interview a whole host of witnesses.
So one of the cars that was hit was a Waymo. The company says data from the car shows the Tesla was going close to 98 miles per hour. San Francisco police, they're cracking down on dirt bike takeovers like this one. And Mayor Daniel Lurie says illegal dirt bike riders have been terrorizing the community and putting people in danger. SFPD announced 4 people arrested in an operation that happened on Sunday. The charges include possession of a stolen vehicle and violating California vehicle codes. Officers also seized 6 dirt bikes and an ATV. And 4 of those bikes were reported stolen in other cities across the state. SFPD used license plate readers, drones, and surveillance cameras to make the arrests instead of initiating a pursuit.
They're quite agile. They are risk takers. They are people who are willing to drive up on the sidewalks in disrespect of our pedestrians. The technology allows for this to be done in a manner that is safe to the public because they can track them without having to chase them at high speeds through our city, which we know oftentimes can result in dangerous consequences.
So meantime, Supervisor Danny Sauter says he plans to introduce a measure that would increase fines for illegal dirt bikes. Well, a push to get more police officers on the streets of Oakland. The Oakland branch of the NAACP is teaming up with the city to boost recruitment. So it comes as city leaders say they're at a crisis point when it comes to police staffing. Last week, OPD's chief revealed there are only 511 fully available officers. That's well below the short-term goal of 700. Currently, 133 officers are on leave or are on limited duty. That's about 20% of the force. And the partnership between the city and the civil rights organization will include funding 5 police academies and recruiting in Oakland to fill the vacancies. They say the goal is to involve the community to make a difference in the city.
There are many people out there wondering why in the world is the NAACP partnering with OPD. We are partnering because our community needs the help.
That's why this push is really on getting Oaklanders to see that we have the agency to protect ourselves. And so join the police force.
They are also specifically looking to recruit women with the goal of having women represent 30% of OPD's workforce by the year 2030. All right, still ahead here at 6. California just banned federal law enforcement from wearing masks. Why one high-ranking official says there's not a chance they'll comply. Plus, coming together to celebrate Betty Reed Saskin's 104th birthday. We spoke with the living legend as she looks back on half a century of civil service.
There have been so many parts of my history that have been stood out, and they all started after I was 50.
She's amazing. And later, the A's may have ditched town, but Oakland still got to celebrate a baseball championship this weekend. We're going to take you to the Ballers party at Raimondi Field. The Department of Homeland Security says it won't comply with California's newest law, which bans federal and local officers from concealing their faces during operations. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the No Secret Police Act into law over the weekend. This comes as masked officers conducting ICE operations have created fear among immigrant communities. However, it's unclear if the law is actually enforceable. The DHS Assistant Secretary criticized the state law, saying it endangers ICE officers, adding, quote, Governor Gavin Newsom is fanning the flames of division hatred and dehumanization of our law enforcement. So there's a battle in Santa Clara County over a proposed new sales tax. Measure A will be on the ballot this November. It would raise the sales tax for 5 years. Today, there was a rally encouraging people to vote no. County officials say they are on track to lose more than $1 billion from President Trump's funding bill. Money they say funds county hospitals. They say Measure A would put in place a temporary sales tax to help make up about $330 million a year. But the Coalition for Community Engagement says people living in Santa Clara County are taxed enough.
The middle class is already overly burdened. There's financial instability. There's financial hardship. All of these issues that the middle class is facing, our communities are facing, is sufficient to say no new taxes.
The election is November 4th. She has been integral to the preservation of Black history here in the Bay Area. She worked as a file clerk during World War II, ran as a successful record store business, and worked with the National Park Service to develop the Rosie the Riveter World War II National Historic Park in Richmond. At her core, Betty Reed Saskin is a lifelong seeker.
The questions are really the best things to be the one to pursue the questions and not be satisfied with the answer.
Today, the school that bears her name held a party in honor of her 104th birthday. Our Clara St. Cyr joins us with a look at the day and the legacy of Betty Reed Saskin.
Betty Reed Saskin, greeted with the enthusiasm fit for an icon.
Beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. The occasion, her 104th birthday, another milestone in her storied life.
How are you feeling at 104?
But if you ask her, September 22nd is just another day.
It doesn't feel much different than it did yesterday.
Saskin has seen much in her 104 years. Born to Louisiana Creoles in New Orleans, her family settled in the East Bay, where she took an active stand against Jim Crow laws. But she says her life really began long after that.
There have been so many parts of my history that have been stood out, and they all started after I was 50.
Her claim to fame would come in her 80s, when she became a park ranger at Rosie the Riveter National Historical Park in Richmond. She told stories of African Americans during World War II, specifically the story of the Port Chicago explosion, which killed 320 people, mostly Black sailors, and exposed racial segregation in the armed forces.
It was their sacrifice that launched the desegregation of the armed forces for the country and the world. I mean, they changed history.
She would do that job until she was 100, making her the oldest park ranger in history.
Your life has been such an inspiration.
A service Mina Harris, author and niece of Kamala Harris, says should be celebrated.
I think that she defines what it means to be an American hero, and I look to her, especially in moments like this where, day to day can feel really overwhelming. And I think that she's such an incredible reminder of what it can look like to make an impact in your own community.
Saskin's story is plastered on the walls of the middle school that now bears her name, where her granddaughter, Aliana Reed, hopes everyone sees.
Having somebody so close to me as an example and as a role model is extremely special to me.
An inspiration 104 years in the making.
Oh, happy birthday. She looks amazing. Saskin met President Obama when she participated in the National Tree Lighting Ceremony in 2015, which she says was one of the most memorable experiences of her life.
Didn't have quite temperatures matching her age today, but, ooh, it looks like we're freaking out a little bit here. Okay.
I'm not freaking out because I'm there.
Well, I mean, just call it like I see it. Temperatures got up into the 90s. We'll reset things and take a look at weather next.
All right, let's get to our weekly weather. And Paul, welcome to fall.
Yes, it's
First
autumn.
day, huh?
Doesn't feel like it. Temperatures were in the upper 80s and low 90s inland. It's going to be up to around 100 degrees, but tomorrow. But that's kind of par for the course in early autumn for the Bay Area.
Here we go. Just less sunlight.
Yes, we're going to lose 2.5 hours of sunlight between now and the winter solstice on December 21st. Yeah, here we go into autumn, which even if it doesn't feel like it, it has arrived. Let's take a look at the big picture weather pattern, and hardly a cloud in the sky over much of California. Even the marine layer cloud cover is pretty thin at the moment. It's a very compressed marine layer because of the weight of the atmosphere on top of us, and that's why we're going to be seeing hotter temperatures in store as we go through the day tomorrow. The weight of the atmosphere compressing the air at ground level, which heats it up. But there is more cloud cover off to our south that's going to be moving up towards us and spreading a chance of showers into the Bay Area later on this week. So we got a lot to keep track of. Let's start with a look outside from Salesforce Tower towards the Golden Gate, and really not seeing much fog there at all. Temperatures anywhere from the upper 60s in the city to the low 90s still in Livermore and Concord. San Jose and Santa Rosa have retreated to the 80s, so holding on to low 70s right now in Oakland. As we go through the rest of tonight, those temperatures will drop down to the 50s and 60s, which is pretty normal for this time of year. But the fog is going to really just be a coastal phenomenon as we head through the rest of tonight. Not even making much of a push through the Golden Gate, certainly not making its way into the inland valleys by early tomorrow morning. So the fog is not going to be a major factor in terms of slowing down the warm-up. Once the sun comes up at 7:05 tomorrow morning, it's going to be 6:57 tomorrow morning. First full day of autumn, we are going to be seeing temperatures warming up quickly. All this purple on the map indicates temperatures into the 90s, some spots even up to around 100 degrees. Let's look at some specific numbers. Mid to upper 90s in the Santa Clara Valley, 95 in San Jose, but the record is 100, so that likely remains out of reach. Low 90s for Fremont and Redwood City, over 100 degrees east of the Oakland Hills. Also not record-setting. We're going to be about 5 to 10 degrees short of records across the entire Bay Area. San Francisco getting up into the mid-80s. If we hit 85 in the city, that'll be the warmest day so far in 2025. 70s at the coast, and then mostly 90s for the North Bay. Some of the hot spots there also climbing up to almost 100 degrees. But while we're not setting any records, the heat is going to be noticeable, maybe even dangerous in some inland parts of the East Bay, especially as you head into the Delta. Those red shaded patches indicate high heat risk values. Just take it easy. Stay hydrated, find some air conditioning, or at least some shade every once in a while if you're going to be working outside tomorrow. And just generally adjust your pace. But you're not going to have to worry about it long. The heat risk map on Wednesday, we're back to the low category. And the reason for that shift is the arrival of a chance of showers moving up from the south. Let's take a look at Futurecast. This goes from 11 o'clock tomorrow night through 11 a.m. on Wednesday. And we're going to be tracking some showers moving up from the south. Now, we're going to be on the very northern edge of this storm system's moisture. So the South Bay actually has a better chance of seeing a little bit more rain compared to the North Bay, but everybody has a chance. From 11 a.m. Wednesday through 11 p.m., you see the showers kind of falling apart as they try to make their way north. Everybody does have a chance of scattered showers. It's not a guarantee of rain for everybody, though, and the showers are going to wind down once we get to about midday on Thursday. That storm system losing its influence on us, and I think really after sunrise on Thursday, we're going to be seeing the showers completely quieting down. 7-day forecast includes the shower chance on Wednesday. That drops us back to normal temperatures, and that's where we stay as we head through the rest of the 7-day forecast. Mostly 80s inland, and temperatures around the Bay also returning to near normal after a hot day tomorrow. Back into the 70s Bayside and back into the 60s with more fog at the coast. Jules?
All right, Paul, thank you. When we come back, who needs the A's anyway? We'll take you to West Oakland, where the Ballers just celebrated a championship. Ooh, the magic of baseball is back in Oakland. The Ballers secured the city's first ever Pioneer League championship. A sea of 4,000 green and gold fans erupted after the final pitch. There you have it. The Ballers beat the Idaho Falls Chuckers at Raimondi Park last night after losing the first 2 games of the 5-game series. Oakland bouncing back with 3 straight wins. All right, we want to get to a bit of breaking news right now. Just a few minutes ago, there was a magnitude 3.0 aftershock centered in Berkeley following this morning's quake. We'll continue to follow this on the news at 7 o'clock. Meantime, the CBS Evening News is next on KPIX. Local news continues on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. Again, we're back here in 30 minutes with more news on the aftershock in Berkeley. See you at 7.